Good morning and welcome to Friday Morning's Trending. As per usual, the show is brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING for 10% off. Well, what a 7 days it's been since we last spoke on our own, I think. Netanyahu thanks Trump for public call to cancel his corruption trial. Daddy's been told by Daddy what to do. Others accuse US president of interfering in Israel's judicial system after he said case against PM was a witch hunt. A witch hunt for a guy that's massacred tens of thousands of women, children and men in Gaza. This is a witch hunt, is it? So we had this little swear from Donald Trump last week, putting his foot down. He's the daddy. He's in charge. They don't know what the F they're doing. They know what you're doing. They're doing what you're told, aren't you? And Benjamin Netanyahu has thanked Donald Trump after the US president publicly called for the Israeli prime minister's long-running corruption trial to be cancelled. He is corruption. He embodies corruption and evil. Of course, he's corrupt. That's how they get to where they are. The system's corrupt. It's a global, corrupt crime syndicate. That's what we're looking at here. These people are not presidents and prime ministers. They're arms dealers. Trump on Wednesday posted a lengthy diatribe against the trial, which could lead to a prison sentence for his ally. He's not going to prison, is he? Look what he's done all over the world, specifically in the Middle East. He's not going to prison, is he? Anytime soon, describing a ridiculous witch hunt that was an unheard of horror show. He's just massacred tens of thousands of children. And this is a witch hunt. And showering praise on Netanyahu for his leadership of Israel during the short war with Iran that was ended by a ceasefire earlier this week. The war that these two started, and I say that by the fact that US funded Israel to the tune of $4 billion in March, allowing them to attack Iran, although their Iron Dome didn't work very well. Netanyahu obviously started it whilst continuing to decimate Gaza. So these two want to take credit for ending something they started. It's totally psychotic and absurd. They know deep down that they're lunatics, and that's nonsense. But they're friends, and, well, they're not their business associates and crime syndicate associates, and Netanyahu's way, way above Trump, as we all know. Netanyahu, whose relationship with Trump was reported to have been under strain, didn't swear on telly. It's got to be real. And he walked away from him when he was trying to shake his hand. You're watching Middle East Enders. Until the recent conflict, thanked the president for his heartfelt support for me and your incredible support for Israel and the Jewish people, not all the Jewish people. And that is divided within itself to many different versions of the same faith, people believing completely different things from one another, including the Zionist principle of making the prophecies happen when most of the Jewish faith believe it should be left into the hands of God, their God. I look forward to continued working with you to defeat our common enemies, the rest of the world, you and me. Liberate our hostages, nope, and quickly expand the circle of peace. Netanyahu wrote on X, sharing a copy of Trump's Truth Social post. I mean, it's pathetic, really, it really is. It's a clown show. These guys live in this bubble of thinking that the rest of the world believes them. Yes, you'll get this small section of MAGA tribalists that have to, because they've built their business around it. They've built their whole entire little mini empire, a Trumpire, sort of. There, but most people see this as for what it is. Israel clearly lost that 12-day war. Iran came at them and punished them like never seen before, to quote Donald Trump, and they had to call it off because they were in deep, deep trouble, and the US had to get involved. Now, we know that they've tried to eliminate their nuclear program, which it doesn't seem like they've done, definitely not completely. The uranium was moved. It was a complete failure that these guys are trying to spin as something else, which is a good thing for humanity, because these lot have a plan for the Middle East, as we talk about quite a lot, called the Greater Israel Project, and look into something called the Abraham Shield or Abrahamic Shield. And you'll see that, including the Saudi royals, as they claim to be, are involved with reshaping the Middle East. And that would go in line with the Greater Israel Project, which will go in line with this playing out the end times. So there's a new guy in New York who was supposed to be going to look into the tunnels underneath New York and what was going on in there. And Trump was kicking off, saying he hated him and he was a communist. And this is what this Zohran, so meet the Zohran, Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani, that's not easy, pledged to tackle anti-Semitism across New York with an 800% increase in funding for hate crime prevention programs on behalf of fearful Jewish New Yorkers.
And I know that Jewish New Yorkers, like Jewish Americans, are fearful in this moment of anti-Semitism. They're fearful, especially after the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado. And they're fearful also in conversations that I have heard myself about life in this city. And I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg not too many weeks ago who told me about the fact that he now locks the door that he used to close, that he used to keep open for years because of a fear of who may come in. I spoke to a friend of mine after October 7th who told me about going to his synagogue for Shabbat services and hearing the door open behind him and turning around with a tremor going up his back, not knowing who was walking in and what they wished for them. And ultimately, it's through the conversations I've had with Jewish New Yorkers that I have developed a proposal for the Department of Community Safety that would include an 800% increase in funding for hate crime prevention programs. Because ultimately, we cannot simply say that anti-Semitism has no home in this city or no place in this country. We have to do more than talk about it. We have to tackle it. And that's what we will do through this funding and through this commitment. We will root out bigotry across the 5 boroughs.
800%. There could be a Kabbalistic code in there of the 8th day, the world to come. But he's supposed to be going against these guys. Who do you think these fearful Jewish New Yorkers are? Brooklyn, perhaps? How was it down the tunnels? Zohran, was it hot down there having your meetings? So there's another fake fallout here. So Trump brands Zohran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic backed by dummies who has a grating voice. He's such a child. He's such a child. Mamdani, a 33-year-old Democrat, socialist and state lawmaker, won New York City's Democrat primary on Tuesday and now faces re-election bid from current mayor Eric Adams, who will run as an independent. New York is Gotham. This is just Batman madness playing out, and they pretend to be against each other, but clearly this whole clampdown on anti-Semitism, although Semitism doesn't mean what they claim it to mean, is all brought about because of he's telling you there that he's under the thumb of some fearful Jewish New Yorkers. It's Brooklyn. It's Chabad Lubavitch, the same guys that Donald Trump and Netanyahu answer to. They pop up everywhere, especially our drains. Madness. So it's all a pretend infighting here. Donald Trump blasted New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani on Wednesday, labeling the 33-year-old who beat former Governor Andrew Cuomo, because no one liked him, he was a lunatic, in a historic win for Democratic primary. A 100% communist lunatic who looks terrible. Looks terrible. He's got an orange face. In a series of mocking truth social posts. Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Dem primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He's not a lefty, is he? He's pretending. He's going to promote anti-Semitism talk everywhere when you criticize these Chabad guys who are fearful, apparently, who are not really Jewish. By the looks of it, they're following the Luranic Kabbalah and have more incline and in common with the Sabbatean Frankists than they do the Jewish faith. Let's have it right. The president, in a second post during his spare moments, I had 5 minutes after bombing Iran. We just had a few minutes, had a cup of tea. and at the ongoing NATO summit sarcastically suggested the struggling National Democratic Party could get back in play by nominating fellow left-leaning leaders like Reps Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jasmine Crockett before declaring the country is really screwed. You're the president, aren't you? You're not really, are you? Because they voted for you and they got Netanyahu and they got these Chabad guys. So moving on, let's come back over to this side of the pond, just as mad. So obviously we were very close to having a all-out war. Well, it was a fallout, nearly a nuclear one, last week. Europe must be ready to build millions of drones to defend itself against possible Russian attacks, EU warns.
Морські дрони тощо. А сьогодні перехоплювачі важливі Україні. Вони перехоплюють іранські шахеди. А завтра вони будуть також на складах у Британії. Я не вірю, що у вас буде війна, але добре, що у вас буде така зброя.
But Russia's continued offensive is a wake-up call, a warning. NATO knows it can't stockpile drones as they'll go out of date. But Europe must be capable of making its own drone army in case of future attack.
Russians can have around 5 million drones. So we need to have capacities bigger than those in order really to prevail. So it's a question is about millions of drones. It's very important now to start to build up, to develop teams of the people. Engineers, constructors, operators, digital people, ready to scale up production if the X is coming.
From the skies of Ukraine to the battlefields of the Middle East, drones are revolutionizing warfare. NATO must learn to lead that revolution or risk leaving itself exposed.
Did I not say earlier these are arms dealers? War is a racket. EU Defence Commissioner Andreas Kubilius says Europeans will require millions of drones to create an army, and they need to start preparing now. I mean, come on. They're arming themselves to the teeth for this Armageddon scenario. And, I mean, even if they weren't, this is just putting the notion out there that be fearful, especially the Russians and the Iranians and the Chinese, not the Americans and the Israelis that are blowing everyone up everywhere. The EU's Defence Commissioner has warned Europe must be capable of building a drone army in case Russia attacks. Military intelligence has suggested Russian forces could be ready to strike a NATO country within the next 5 years. And in the next 5 years. All right, so be aware, be scared for 5 years. This is it, isn't it? Iran has got nuclear weapons for the last 30 years, and they're about a couple of weeks away from making that happen for 30 years. In order to defend themselves, Kubilius says that Europeans will require millions of drones and need to start preparing now. How about you just don't start wars with people? Russia can have around 5 million drones, so we need to have capacities bigger than those in order to prevail. It's like simple maths, isn't it? We've got more than you. We're going to do one at a time. And maths tells us that us having more than you means we'll outlast you, because one at a time. Warning that if President Putin ordered an attack, another possible Habadnik, the target would face a battle-tested Russian army with the ability to use millions of drones. I mean, come on. This is just money for morons, isn't it? Arms dealers. Pushing all the pieces around on planet Earth for their new Olam Haba world to come. So the UK have just bought some fighter jets that can carry nuclear bombs. Who would want to fly that? It's just mad. But this is where the money goes. And I've just investigated something called Neom City in Saudi Arabia. I think it's something like 500 billion's gone into this city. And the only real bit that's complete is the luxury island. The rest of it seems to be slow progress. I'm of the belief that many of these things and much of this money that gets pumped in there, including 142 billion from the US into these Saudi projects and arming of them, doesn't really go where it's supposed to go, if you know what I mean. So moving on, this is something that the Christian right in America, the evangelicals that support Trump, are choosing just to completely dismiss or ignore because it doesn't fit in their narrative. Priest warns Christian town in Holy Land no longer safe amid settler attacks. In a disturbing and increasingly frequent pattern, the Palestinian town of Tebeh, located east of Ramallah and known as the last remaining town in the West Bank, inhabited entirely by Christians, faces ongoing attacks by Israeli settlers targeting residents, their property and farmlands. So the evangelical Christians, call them Christian Zionists, they won't call themselves that, think that they need to support Israel in these end times madness prophecies, whilst the Israeli Defense Force completely slaughters them in the Middle East. Make it make sense. According to CNA's Arabic language news partner, in recent weeks, settlers have established a new outpost on the eastern edge of Tebeh, atop the ruins of a farmhouse whose owners were displaced roughly a year ago. This is a Christian village. And how would you square that one when you're supporting Trump, who's supposed to be a Christian? He's clearly not a Christian, is he? He's, in my opinion, Donma. How do you square that one? Well, you just ignore it because it doesn't fit in your narrative. The outpost was erected in a vital agriculture zone spanning around 17,000 acres, which is around about 4,200 acres, which serves as a key economic lifeline for the town. The area hosts thousands of olive trees, poultry and sheep farms and wild fields used for seasonal crops. It forms the bulk of Tebeh's total land area of about 24,000, they call them dunams, which is about 5,900 acres. Attacks and infringements are not new. In 2019 and 2020, settlers set up similar illegal outposts around the town, often accompanied by arson attacks on crops, theft of equipment, and deliberately releasing cattle into fields to destroy the harvest. These people are utter lunatics. They're going in and taking over these places, but this is specifically Christian. Now, we know the ideologies of these don't work together, and they have completely different ideas about who their Messiah is and what's going to happen at the end. And one of them's a physical Messiah here, and the other one from Christianity is going to come down from the sky and possibly take them all up in the air to live out the tribulations with him whilst they decimate the rest of the planet. We know they don't fit together, but there is an understanding in the evangelical Christian sect that they must support Israel. And in the end, they'll be proven that the church is the new Israel. It's just insane. But this goes to prove, in another of the many proofs, that if you need them still, that Israel have no care, the IDF, for the Christians or the Christian faiths that they're using. They're going and decimating their villages. But again, the evangelicals say nothing. It doesn't fit in their narrative. Does it? You need to support Trump, who says he's Christian, which he's clearly not. He's kissing the Wailing Wall like the rest of them. He's, in my opinion, a Sabbatean, messianic Donma. Trump is their real name, by the way. It's not even Trump. So no wonder he's in bed with Netanyahu and saying he should be let off. I mean, this whole thing is quite not obvious to see. I wouldn't say that, because you need to understand all the context in the background. But when you really look at it and you think it doesn't make sense, well, why doesn't it make sense? Their ideologies are completely different. They run the same narrative across the three Abrahamic religions, the biblical narrative, but the outcomes go in the favor of this messianic Jewish sect. Again, I wouldn't even call them Jewish. They're using the Jewish faith. And that's why you have this guy that's gone back in, this Zohran Mamdani, into New York. Trump's pretending to hate him. And he says there's fearful Jewish New Yorkers. Well, Are they really Jewish? Are they practicing the Jewish faith? And it is a faith that anyone can join, the way in which most Orthodox Jews would say it is? Well, in my opinion, they're not, because they're pushing for the end times. They're making it happen. And that is a clear sign of the Sabbateans, who are using the Jewish faith. So these guys in New York are something to look into, because Netanyahu, Putin, and Zelensky's been seen around them. I mean, they get everywhere. They're the schmooly guys. They seem to have a hold on all of these top-level politicians. And then you bring in the Saudi royals as well. You have a connection there that you shouldn't really have between Jared Kushner taking 200 billion from the Saudi crown prince for his businesses, when Jared Kushner is a Chabadnik, a messianic sect who want to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque, whilst these Saudis, these Sunni Islam's belief, they shouldn't want to support anyone who wants to support taking down the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Does it make sense? Well, it makes sense if none of them are really who they claim to be, doesn't it? It's the only sense I can make of it. So I will be back with you this afternoon for some more delightful, fun news. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING for 10% off our coffee, and have a look on the store. Help support everything we do here. We thank you very much for all your support the last 6 years, and I'll see you in a few hours. Take care. Goodbye.